Welcome to this explainer. Deep inside your digestive tract right now lies a microscopic ecosystem that is so incredibly complex, it literally dictates not just how you digest your lunch, but your daily energy levels, the actual architecture of your sleep, and even your capacity for deep, focused work. Today, we're going to separate evidence-based gastroenterology from commercialized wellness lore. We're diving deep into the intersection of modern lifestyle, human biology, and those multi-billion-dollar industries that have just exploded around our collective desire to feel better, think sharper, and frankly, live longer. We are absolutely living in the era of a massive gut health boom. I mean, look around, right? There's an endless explosion of products, daily supplements, and influencers promising to quickly fix all of our biological woes. But to truly understand this massive sociological phenomenon, what some are calling gut healthism, we really have to look at the root causes. Our highly stressed, constantly stimulated modern work environments, packed with digital overload and ultra-processed diets, are fundamentally driving this multi-billion-dollar desperation. We're all out there searching for rapid solutions to chronic fatigue, brain fog, and attention fragmentation. And well, the wellness industry has enthusiastically stepped right in, basically transforming our microbes into quantifiable markers of personal wellness that can supposedly be optimized on demand. So, it really begs the question. Are these incredibly trendy treatments actually supporting our cognitive and physical resilience? Or are they just capitalizing on our collective exhaustion? Are we actually building true biological resilience? Or are we simply falling for sophisticated marketing that completely oversimplifies the amazing complexity of the human body? Today, we're going to look strictly at what peer-reviewed science and board-certified gastroenterologists actually say about the deeply interconnected systems inside your gut.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The gut healthism boom. 2. Diagnostics or deception. 3. Dangerous detoxes and cleanses. 4. Leaky gut and bone broth. And finally, number 5. Evidence-based gut health.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the gut healism boom.
To really grasp the reality behind all this hype, we first have to define what the microbiome actually is. It's an incredibly unique, highly complex ecosystem inside each and every one of us that basically acts like a biological fingerprint. We are talking about 50 to 100 trillion microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses, archaea, the whole shebang. To put that into perspective, the genetic diversity of your gut is roughly 150 times larger than your own human genome. In these microbes, they aren't just passive hitchhikers. They actually synthesize the very neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine that dictate our micromental health, our stress resilience, and our ability to maintain sustained focus. So it's a highly resilient ecosystem, absolutely, but it also operates as the central command center for our immune and neurological systems.
Moving on to Section 2, Diagnostics or Deception. Now, when rigorous scientific scrutiny is applied to this industry, the cracks really begin to show. Take a look at this landmark study published in Communications Biology, conducted by researchers at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They tested the analytical validity of direct-to-consumer gut testing kits. The researchers literally sent the exact same, highly standardized human stool sample to 7 different commercial testing companies. And the results? No way around it. They received completely different taxonomic profiles and wildly different health interpretations back from each one. The methodological variability between these commercial companies was just as large as the biological differences between entirely different human beings. Let that sink in for a second.
And that brilliantly illustrates exactly why board-certified gastroenterologists do not use these unvalidated direct-to-consumer tests in clinical practice. As one expert put it, trying to measure 1,000 different microbes simultaneously right now is kind of like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But these testing companies, they're claiming they can categorize every single straw in that haystack by color and length. Because there is currently no scientific consensus on what a universally perfect microbiome even looks like, getting these tests often just induces severe psychological distress. That feeds right back into our modern stress epidemic, often leading to unwarranted, highly restrictive diets that can actually compromise your long-term nutritional status.
Which brings us to Section 3, Dangerous detoxes and cleanses. You see, the entire colon cleansing industry, and I'm talking about all those laxative teas and hydrotherapy sessions you see online, it's completely built upon a thoroughly debunked medical myth from the early 1900s called auto-intoxication. This is the highly unscientific belief that undigested food waste somehow gets stuck to the lining of your large intestine, where it rots, putrefies, and leaks systemic toxins directly into your bloodstream. It basically paints a picture of the human colon as a dirty, clogged pipe that desperately needs to be power washed. But biologically speaking, that is pure fiction. Toxins absolutely do not just build up on the walls of a healthy colon.
The physiological reality is actually incredibly elegant. Your body naturally detoxifies itself through your liver and your kidneys. These organs are highly evolved, unbelievably efficient filtration systems. They take toxins, convert them into harmless substances, and easily excrete them. They absolutely, unequivocally do not require a pricey reset from unregulated juices, herbal teas, or extreme fasting protocols. In fact, those methods often rely on harsh laxatives that merely induce temporary water loss and severely disrupt your body's natural digestive rhythm.
In fact, flushing out your colon through hydrotherapy can be incredibly dangerous. When you introduce unprescribed, unsterile fluids into the large intestine, you are quite literally washing away the beneficial, protective bacteria that are actively keeping you healthy. Beyond just destroying your microbiome, colonic cleanses pose severe, real-world medical risks. We're talking life-threatening electrolyte imbalances, severe dehydration, and colon perforation, which is a literal tear in the intestinal wall that can lead to systemic, potentially fatal infections. Your colon does a fantastic job of self-cleaning. Trust me, it doesn't need a hose.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, leaky gut and bone broth.
If you spend literally any time online, you're going to hear about leaky gut syndrome being blamed for absolutely everything. Weight gain, brain fog, depression, autoimmune diseases, you name it. But we've really got to distinguish the internet myth from the clinical reality here. In evidence-based medicine, leaky gut syndrome is not a recognized standalone diagnosis. However, intestinal permeability is a very real, measurable biological phenomenon. You see, your intestinal lining is actually supposed to be semi-permeable so it can absorb nutrients. When the tight junctions between those cells loosen up, it's called intestinal permeability. But here is the absolutely critical distinction. This permeability is a measurable consequence of primary mucosal injuries, things like Crohn's disease, celiac disease, or heavy alcohol use. It is not the independent underlying root cause of every single modern symptom you might be feeling.
But because the internet has convinced millions of people that they suffer from this mythical leaky gut, the market for bone broth has absolutely exploded. Now, bone broth is rich in collagen, gelatin, and amino acids, but the math just doesn't quite add up for it to be a miracle therapeutic. A single cup of standard bone broth only provides about 0.5 to 1.7 grams of the amino acid glycine. Yet when you look at clinical studies focused on mucosal repair, therapeutic doses of 3 grams or more are actually required to see a real effect. So while bone broth is a perfectly great, easily digestible thing to add to your diet, the clinical evidence simply does not support the massive claim that it alone can magically seal a damaged intestinal barrier.
Which finally brings us to Section 5, evidence-based gut health.
First things first, we really need to rethink probiotics. The wellness industry positions them as this universal, risk-free, daily multivitamin that everyone should be taking. But the therapeutic efficacy of taking exogenous probiotics is actually highly constrained. Board-certified guidelines strongly suggest that we should restrict their use to specific, validated medical conditions and always under the guidance of a physician. Think about it this way. Throwing random, over-the-counter bacterial strains into your highly individualized, complex ecosystem without a specific medical reason is kind of like planting a bunch of random seeds in a mature, established forest and just hoping for the best.
Ultimately, true, long-lasting gut health isn't something you can just buy in a specialized wellness clinic. It's achieved through foundational daily habits that deeply support your body's interconnected systems. Number 1, eat a diverse range of prebiotic fiber. That feeds your existing microbes so they can produce protective short-chain fatty acids. Number 2, stay properly hydrated. Number 3, manage your stress. The gut-brain axis is incredibly powerful. Chronic cortisol spikes destroy your microbial diversity, which in turn ruins your focus and your capacity for deep work. And number 4, prioritize your sleep. Deep sleep is the exact time when your intestinal lining actively repairs itself. This proves that sleep optimization and gut health are not separate pursuits at all. They are literally two sides of the very same biological coin.
Your body is an ancient, highly evolved, and deeply interconnected system. Your liver detoxifies, your colon self-cleans, and your microbiome naturally thrives on the simple, fibrous foods that humans have been eating for millennia. So before you buy into the next viral digestive trend, or the next expensive testing kit, or that extreme 3-day cleanse, ask yourself this. Are you actually building the biological resilience required for a long, focused, and vibrant life? Or are you just feeding the multi-billion-dollar wellness industry? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, stay curious, and always trust the science.